Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is our take. My name's Ocean.
I'm Taylor.
I'm Connor.
I'm Zach.
Welcome back, boys, to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be taking a look at the second episode of HBO's original series titled The Last of Us. We are going to be doing an episode-by-episode review, so this is number 2. And Zachy and Connor joined us back, and I think they're going to be joining us for the rest of the season, so really looking forward to that. But yeah, we're gonna get right into this. We're going to do it in traditional fashion. We're going to talk about spoiler-free content first, and then we'll get some scores out there and see, how this episode is holding up according to our initial predictions and our initial scores, because our initial scores were pretty high. If I remember correctly, 2 of us gave 10 out of 10 for the first episode. So it'll be interesting to see how you guys feel about this episode versus that one. And then we'll dive into the spoilers and we'll get into the content, the actual content of the episode, and talk about some news that has come out since this show started. So, spoiler-free content, ladies and gentlemen. Connor, how did you feel about this episode?
I mean, I really enjoyed it. There was one aspect that I didn't really
It seems like
care
a
for.
reoccurring theme for you.
Yeah.
You like most of it except for one thing.
Yeah, it's like it's their show. They're adapting it from a video game. I get it. They want to do something different, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't think it makes the show worse, but it just makes me kind of wonder where they go from here.
Okay.
And I'll get into the spoiler. Talk about it in the spoiler section. But other than that, I think this episode was really well done overall, and I did really enjoy. It was a lot quicker than I thought it would be.
So Taylor, you talked about in our last episode that your prediction for the next couple episodes was that they're going to be spending a lot of time building relationships, building the dynamic between our 3 main characters, and I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on the pacing of this episode, without giving any specific spoilers away.
Well, as far as initially, I didn't necessarily say they were going to spend a long time.
Yeah.
I was just saying I would like them to
really dive into it.
But they do condense it into this one episode, and I think it's fine.
Okay.
I think it still would have had a greater effect if they had spread it to 2 episodes.
Yeah, I agree.
But as far as general pacing goes, I thought it was good.
Okay. Zachy, did you pick up on anything that wasn't in the game? Did you pick up any differences between this storyline and the game storyline up until this point in episode 2?
Overall, the story is relatively the same. It's basically just how they go about it is slightly different, for sure. And I can't go into too much stuff with spoilers, but I wouldn't say it's a bad thing they changed it. It's just, I think it just needs to be cleared on later on, expanded upon in later episodes for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I really enjoyed this episode. I do agree that their changing of a few things was kind of would have had a greater impact, I think, if they had done it a little bit different. But the way they did do it was cool. The action was cool. Visuals were still great. So I don't really have any major problems with this episode. Do you guys feel like the trajectory of this show is staying on that same level that it started out with, or do you guys feel like this dipped down a little bit, or did it go up?
I think for the most part, it's about the same. It's still going in a good direction. I don't think it dips or goes up specifically or a
kind of
significant amount for me.
maintains.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just different.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's not. I don't think it went down. Like it got worse. I definitely don't think that. But I don't think it like exceeded the first episode. I think it kind of just stayed the same.
Yeah.
And like Zachy said, it's just different. And I think we just have to see how some of this plays out in the future of the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, let's dive into some spoilers. Or sorry, let's dive into some scores, ladies and gentlemen. Find out where you guys are feeling compared to the first episode. Zachy, what is your score for episode 2?
I'm gonna give it to an 8 to a 9, around there.
Okay, but which
I'm
one?
leaning stronger towards an 8. No, I know. I'm like thinking at it right now. I'm leaning stronger to an 8.
Okay, so
Like I was saying, yeah, I was leaning.
Okay, so Zachy gives it an 8. All right, Taylor, what do you got for this episode?
I'm still at a 9 for this.
Still at a 9, maintained. All right, I like it. Connor?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a solid 9.
All right. I'm gonna drop my point. Me and Connor gave it 10. Zachy and Taylor gave it 9s last episode, but I'm gonna give it a 9 as well. It's not that it really dropped down per se. It's just that it wasn't like a masterpiece like the first episode was for me. Yeah. So, but I am excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see how a lot of the things that they set up in this episode play out. And yeah, I am excited. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have not seen episode 2 or 1, I do highly recommend that you guys go and watch it before you guys finish out this episode. There are spoilers ahead, so this is your official
spoiler alert.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, getting into the nitty and gritty. So I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't expecting Tess to die in this episode.
Yeah,
I wasn't expecting.
I thought they would at least. I thought they'd give it at least 2 episodes to really. I agreed with Taylor. I think I don't think it was bad, but I don't think it. I feel like it would have been more. I don't know if heavy-handed is the word, but it would have been more emotional if they had if there was just a little more time to really solidify that relationship between her and Ellie, because I think it started doing that, through towards the end of the episode, and then she dies, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. It was a little. I think it's easier for us to swallow because we know,
right?
What happened in the game and stuff. So I'm curious to know from somebody that hasn't played the game if they felt like there actually was a connection between Tess and Ellie, or if it was kind of just too fast or too mulled over. Sorry, go ahead.
I can say for Scarlett, she was sad whenever Tess died.
Did Scarlett never played the game?
No.
Oh, okay. Zachy, did your mom watch the episode with you?
She didn't watch it yet. Sadly,
she hasn't watched the number 2. Okay, all right.
No.
What about Haley? Is that Connor?
Yeah, so we watched it together, but it didn't. She wasn't as upset about it as the first episode with his daughter.
Was
she was like, oh, okay, she's dead.
Was Scarlett upset, or was Scarlett sad because Tess died, or was she sad because? Or did she feel like the relationship between her and Ellie blossomed and then it was cut off?
I didn't ask a lot of questions to get that information, but it seemed like she was at least sad that of the little bit of time that we've had with her that she was already dying.
Right. Yeah. It was sad. It was a sad scene, and in that scene itself, if we try not to think about the lead up to it, it was sad, and the reaction of Ellie screaming at Joel saying we're not leaving her, and while Joel is dragging her out of the building, it was sad. It was heartfelt. I in that moment of itself, I believed Ellie. I believed that she really didn't want to leave Tess, and that she didn't want to. She didn't want to leave her behind for the clickers. So, in that regard, I do believe it. I do think that this is one of the things that kind of wasn't wrong or off to me. It was a little. I wish they would have spent a little bit more time on her and Ellie and her and actually her and Joel more so than anything really, because
Joel they established like an entirely deeper relationship in the show between them than in the game.
Yeah, and I would have liked to see that fleshed out, especially because Joel is so hard right now. He's such a calloused over man, and he has all of these barriers and everything built up because of everything that has happened to him. And Ellie ultimately ends up breaking down a lot of those, but it really was Tess that started to get through those barriers, and then Ellie was able to kind of make her way through after that. But so I wish she would have, like, I guess in a perfect world, maybe lasted this episode, and then maybe at the beginning of next episode she didn't make it, but it is what it is. From what I understand, and we talked about it a little bit in this last episode, or in our last episode, that the whole first season is the first game, right? All 9 episodes is going to cover the entire first game, because something that you guys sent to us was that the second season has been confirmed to be adapted from The Last of Us Part 2. So I understand with that in mind, I understand why they're moving a little bit quicker than we would have liked. So all right, Zachy, what was something that you picked up on that was different from the game, and how did it make you feel?
The whole, like, so what was in the game, the infection clickers are a year. I think they take a year to fully develop, and they say that the infected in the show, I think they said it lasted a month. And for me, it's the whole infection changes that kind of like notice quick, like the whole tendrils where they alert each other when you step on one. The infection rate, which I don't remember if did they ever clear that up in the game. I don't remember them seeing how fast you change. Because I remember in the first episode, it showed a poster saying depends where you bit, you get changed in a certain amount of time. I think in the neck was 11 to 15 minutes, something like that. And it's just it didn't feel like it was that short for Tess. So it was I felt inconsistent. And compared to the game, everything was, I wouldn't say it's a lot faster, but there's no like defining like how long it takes for you to fully turn, So there was definitely it was some changes with the infection and the cordyceps overall, but I wouldn't say they were bad, just different.
So you're just looking for a little bit more clarification on how long it takes for somebody to turn, and then how long it takes for somebody to become a full-blown fungus head clicker.
Yeah, because in the game it clears it up, saying, "Oh, that takes a year for a clicker to become a clicker," So I just wonder, like, if it's only a month, like, how fast does this infection grow? And we got a taste of that with the Indonesia girl. They said it was how old the body was, 30 hours, and it was already had
the time. I don't remember.
Yeah. They said the body was, they killed her 30 hours ago, and we don't know how long she's been infected for.
Let's talk about that. How do you guys feel about that part of the episode with the Jakarta police bringing in the lady to look at the person, naked body on the table?
I actually love all of the flashback parts so far. I think they're really cool. I think it's really awesome that you get like a backstory of like a slow progression of how the infection is like progressing from from the past. Like I loved it in the first episode, with the like back in 1968, and I think it was really cool to see it again in this episode with the Jakarta. I don't even know what she is.
I don't know what it is.
Hydrologist.
A microbiologist, something like that.
Yeah.
she studies studies fungus is what she does.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool, especially when they're like after she sees the body and the like, she finds out that the cordyceps fungus is like inside the body or whatever. Yeah. And she's like freaking out, and you know, she's like, "You just have to bomb everything.
Yeah.
Like just kill everybody.
What can we do? Bomb."
It's also
cool
that...
so literally just bomb, and I was like, "That's fucking
that's actually like one thing I really enjoy
metal
as
shit.
Well is the fact that one, it's a new thing that they're introducing to help explain, but on top of that, the scientist or doctor or whatever, she's just straight up.
Yeah,
and not a lot of people are capable of doing that. Of her being like, "This is nothing we've ever experienced before. You need to kill it with fire now."
Yeah. I thought it was really cool, actually. Yeah. This is something completely different from the game, right? It's like, this wasn't in the game, ladies and gentlemen. So I thought it was really cool, especially because they set us up for it with the flashback to the scientists in the first episode, right? Talking about, you know, what could happen if cordyceps became or got into humans. And I was hoping, after I watched the first episode, I was hoping that they would continue the trend of adding in a little bit deeper of a understanding of the lore and understanding of what exactly this virus is and what it's doing. And it'll help. I think what it'll help end up doing is set up the latter part of the season to make a little bit more sense and give a little bit more depth to the monsters of this world. So I think it's really cool. I like it a lot.
I agree.
Connor, you said there was something that bothered you about this episode?
Yeah, so again, it might be, you know, a little bit of a nitpick for other people. Just me personally, I don't know that like I said, I have to wait and see, you know, how it plays out for the rest of the season. So I can't make really any like sort of negative judgment on it, but it doesn't give me, I don't have any like positive judgment on it. Like, oh, I, you know, thought this was, you know, an amazing idea. The whole, like Zachy was talking about, the changes in like the fungus or whatever. I did not, I don't know. It rubbed me in the wrong way. Where...
Be a little bit more specific for the viewers on the changes that you didn't like.
So in the game, the whole thing is that the cordyceps fungus is like super deadly because it's spores. You like breathe in the spores and you're fucking dead. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's it. And then you turn into the zombies and eventually the clickers and bloaters and whatever. But in here, it seems like they're changing it to that the cordyceps fungus is now like a, like I said, there's like tendrils where like it seems like it's more of a like a hive mind kind of thing. And it's cool in the fact that, like, okay, so now anytime you step on like a live cordyceps fungus tendril, it alerts like every cordyceps fungus
tied into that particular network.
Right, but I don't. But they said that like the network could be like, you know,
there's no
3 states wide or whatever. So it's like, so in the back of my head, I'm like, okay, but now that sets up like, so if you step on something, does like a fucking horde over in Arizona is like, oh shit, and then they start like, you know what I mean? So then you have like zombies that like from fucking Boston to Arizona, all shit. It's like, I don't know if that's too much, you know. I don't know if that's like, because I don't know. To me, it was a lot scarier when the only protection you had between you and getting infected was either getting bit or having a gas mask on.
Yeah.
And if you didn't have a gas mask, you were fucked. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the scene at the end where Tess is trying to light the fire and this fucking zombie comes up and just makes out with her.
Yeah.
I get it. It was gross, but I don't know if it fits. You know what I mean? I was like, really? She's just going to stand there and be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
that was kind of like the last thing that I was going to bring up and talk about, because it rubbed me the wrong way. That was kind of like that's kind of like the main thing that I didn't really care for, because I didn't feel like it fit with the tone of the show. And I guess they're trying to go with a hive mind like thing with the cordyceps. So I guess it kind of makes sense that because Tess had it in her, that she would want to become part of the horde or the hive or something. But it was weird. Let's be honest. It was
I don't know that
it was a weird shot.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Taylor, how did you feel about that? Did it bother you, or you don't really?
The ending, I didn't like it.
Yeah, with her making out with the other.
Yeah. Well, the entire, not even just like kiss, we'll say, just the whole thing. I didn't like the setup. I didn't like the execution of everything. It wasn't like horrible, so it didn't like ruin it for me. But I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
Fan of how Tess died or like blowing up.
Yeah, just how she died, like the setting and everything, like like dumping all the fuel and the clickers and stuff. Like, it's even more so leaning towards World War Z feeling to me, and I'm not a fan of that because I don't think it matches in this particular universe. The whole
hive mind. So Taylor, I
don't think is that good of an idea for this.
I agree with you completely, Taylor. I have a quick question for you. How do you feel? Were you surprised about? We haven't seen any sort of like human on human confrontation, like combat interaction. Are you surprised by that? That it's they've leaned heavily more into the zombie aspect, because at the end scene, it's not the zombies. In the video game, it's not the zombies that are chasing them.
She gets shot by Fedra.
Right.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that?
I understand why they're doing it, because I think it's easy for new viewers to, like, I guess get attracted to, because it's like the whole zombie thing.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of it because that's not really the main focus of the story, I feel like. Because yes, they're there, they're dangerous, they're present, but that's not really what matters, which I feel like a lot of zombie shows can relate to. And it is kind of a balancing act, but it does seem strange that they're leaning very heavily in that direction.
So I had some thoughts on this particular subject, because I've watched both episodes with my mom and my wife, who have never played the game, and they know nothing about this world. And I think what is kind of happening is what I'll call the Walking Dead effect, because The Walking Dead has been probably the most successful zombie franchise, we'll call it, so far,
by far,
right? So what happened in that show was that the main threat in the beginning was the zombies, was surviving that, and then as the story progressed, then it turned into having to fight other people too, in addition to the zombies, right? So I feel like this story is kind of following that same blueprint of that, because it was successful with The Walking Dead, and it's successful in pulling in the new viewer, right? My mom told me that the first episode, when we watched it, she was so focused and concerned with watching like the zombies and figuring out the clickers and how they work and what's happening with that she missed a lot of what happened with Joel and Ellie and Tess and like all of the all that stuff. She told me that the second half of the first episode, she was sitting there with anxiety, waiting for a clicker to pop out at any moment, that it kind of made her distracted when it came to the finer details of the story that was unfolding with other people. And then kind of the same thing with the second episode, and she was like, all right, this is what I was expecting to happen. So I think I don't want to say for sure, but I think that's what's happening. I think what's happening is that, the director and producers of The Last of Us see this blueprint that has been successful with other franchises, and they're adapting the story that us gamers love so much into something along the closer to that line, so that it draws in a bigger audience and plays to a bigger audience. And I can understand and respect it, I guess, but I'm not a fan of it. Because I do agree with you, Taylor, that this story is not supposed to be about the clickers and about the zombies. It's not supposed to be about fighting them. It's supposed to be about the relationship between Joel and Ellie and surviving, like what it takes to survive in this world, and what people out in this world that choose to live in this, this fucked up place, what they're willing to do, and what you got to be aware of and afraid of, really. So I'm hoping that now that now that Tess is gone, and and we can kind of focus on Joel and Ellie, I'm really hoping that they start diving into the human interaction aspect of this story, instead of it just being about fighting zombies.
There's not a lot of like human combat encounters left, really. I mean, for how quickly they're going. I think right after this they end up at Bill's, right?
Yeah. That's the next place
in the game. Yeah, which is all zombies.
Yeah.
And then right after that they get into the suburbs with the sniper guy in the house, right? At the end.
Don't spoil too much, Connor. Don't spoil too much.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, in the game, I don't. You're right. This could not be in the show. I don't know.
You are right. They could differ.
And then but so I'm so I don't know. I don't particularly agree. I agree with Taylor and you, Ocean. I don't agree with that. They're kind of putting that human aspect away for at least right now. I feel like there's been quite a bit of human confrontation in the game so far to this point, and we've seen like zero of that. Yeah, really.
I mean, this second episode there was none, right? There was zero.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely none.
Yeah.
No, what about you, Zachy? How do you feel about it?
I mean, there is no human interaction other than the first episode. It's like that one time Joel fights the Fedra guy and that's it. But
yeah,
I mean, I think this episode was just them. Hopefully, was just them showcasing their different zombies. That's what it felt like. It just felt like a showcase of what they look like and how they work. I didn't really feel like it would. Like they did follow the story, but this episode felt more like these are the zombies and this is how they work, more kind of episode. Yeah. But they didn't go in depth with it and try to balance it between the story and the zombies. And I was just having it just be the story like the game would be. Because the game doesn't. Mm-hmm. The game. I mean, I get why it's different because the game you have to look for clues of what the infection is, but I don't think we need to. I didn't think they needed to go in depth or right now in depth with or screen up the story to go in depth with zombies or show how they work.
So you think that this episode was them just trying to establish a baseline with the zombies, so that going forward they don't have to do too much more of that.
They showed the clicker. They showed how durable they are, how strong they are.
Yeah,
and they also showed how the zombies work with the tendrils, which I don't want to say I'm not a biggest fan of, but I understand what they're going with. And it definitely just felt like them just, hey, this is what happens, this is how it works. Cool, right? So it wasn't
cool, right? Yeah.
This is cool. Cool. I guess. I mean, but what about Joel and them? But that's just how it feels from my point. Maybe I'm wrong, but
okay.
I'm hoping I'm not.
All right. I mean, this episode was a lot shorter. It was only 52 minutes long, so it's almost a half hour less than the first episode. And I think there's 7 episodes left, right? So I think there's still a lot of time for them to really dive into the human aspect of this show, but I'm a little cautious going forward. I'm hoping that they get back to the true essence of the show. Zachy, you told me yesterday that you wanted to share something that you were learning about through somebody else that's on YouTube, and they're about the virus and stuff. So what were you talking about?
So I looked up. I was confused. So when I first watched the test kiss scene, I was confused on it. I'm like, doesn't make any sense. Like, why would he, instead of just letting her go, why go after her like that? So I looked up a YouTuber to see, what the problem is, and he explained it this way. He said,
"What's the YouTuber's name for
Ragnarok
for the
Gaming?
Viewers?
Ragnarok Gaming. I'm a big fan of him. But anyways, he explained it such as in ants, the cordyceps actually locks up your jaws and like controls the back of their head, like not really control their brain, but controls their entire body with the muscles and everything. And it actually, the other ants, in theory, could infect ants with bites. And the cordyceps is using evolutionary path like that to infect humans the same way, or further infect humans the same way that already infected to speed up the process, which you can actually see in tests. Because if you notice throughout the ending scene, she's slowly turning, like her hands are shaking, she's losing motor control. And the fire was a way to represent her losing control, because she kind of starts giving up, as the zombie comes close, and she starts giving in. And then the last time she clicks, it was like a defiant, like, fuck this shit, to kill everything. So it explained in a way that's like, oh yeah, so it's a cordyceps taking over, why she got the kiss, why she just let it happen, instead of fighting back. But that was her last of her willpower, just like trying to get that thing to work. So from what I saw, it made sense. That's why I gave it 8. Cause like I want them to, if they can explain it better how it works, then I can see it. But that's just a theory.
So what he was saying was that because Tess was already in the process of turning, she only had so much willpower to fight the virus that she couldn't avoid the kiss and light the fire at the same time.
Yeah, because if you also notice in the first, like during the autopsy, the cordyceps was still growing.
Yeah.
When she put it out the mouth, it was still going out of her. So I'm guessing it goes really fast in this series. Like, it goes like instantly. So I'm guessing in the bite to the neck, she was already, losing that motor function. Because I can't say that they're doing the same as the game with the whole personality thing. If you guys know what I'm talking about, with they're still human, but they can't control themselves. So I don't know if they're doing that path, which I think they should. But yeah, there's this theory that they were just, maybe she's already like letting it happen because that's cordyceps was influencing her brain to do it a certain way. So that was just a theory I saw, and I actually kind of like it, so I've been watching more of it. So I want to see what else he comes up with for this, because it's pretty cool if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I don't know that I like it still, though. Like,
I wouldn't say I like it, but at least it gives
I like
something.
that they kissed her. Like,
yeah,
if she just like offered her neck or something, like that'd be different.
Yeah, because he wasn't biting her. He was literally like,
when he was sharing those weird,
like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
This is.
I wouldn't say
like this is a major problem with this show. Is the more information you're going to give us, the more you're going to have to explain it. And to be honest, everything you just explained, like, sure, I understand like what they're trying to say, but it still ultimately doesn't matter, because it doesn't that's only if you really care about the kiss. That's not the main issue I have.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the entire thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're all sprinting after them because the whole fucking stepped on a thing. Now they know where you are. That's stupid. Now that they're doing that, why are they not being violent towards you?
Yeah.
So now it doesn't make sense. Are they just trying to fucking kiss you, or are they trying to infect you, or trying to eat you? Which one is it?
Because technically, wouldn't Ellie be infected then, right? She's got bit. She has the fungus, but it just doesn't work on her. So wouldn't she also be immune to it? So like it doesn't. Yeah, so it just doesn't make sense. I say that's true. Like, I watch him, and it's a YouTuber. He just trying to give explanation, but in the end, we both agree it doesn't make any sense for them to do this change. Personally.
I have to agree with you though, Taylor. Like, I really didn't. I was like, how does this whole fucking tendril thing work? Because it changes how everything, like how you react to everything. Because you can have 5 million zombies running after you from like a bajillion miles away. You know what I mean? Because you fucking accidentally killed a guy who was infected or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
you stepped on a fucking vine. Like,
it's like
it was actually kind of hard to tell like what was what was fungus and what was not, because it just looked like grass to me. It's like it looked like grass. So I was like, all right, this is gonna be like you're gonna have to tiptoe around the world, try to not touch grass. Apparently,
yeah, that's what it makes sense to me. It was like they're like, oh yeah, the open roads are fine, but I'm like, if you can stretch underground, wouldn't it just know where you are at all times? Then because it just feels where you're stepping. Like you have but I just have the one piece of it. It's above ground for some random reason instead of being below ground like everything else. Like what?
Yeah, there's definitely gonna need to be some more. Like Taylor said, they're introducing more info, so they need more explanation. There's definitely gonna need to be some more explanation. Connor, you told us just before we started this episode that there was some controversy surrounding the show off screen. What's going on with that?
Yeah, so the co-creator of The Last of Us, the game, Bruce Straley, I think is how you say his name. He's the co-creator of the original game, and he has not been given any credit in the show for co-creating the game, which he is rightfully so kind of upset about because he's kind of saying this is why we need unions in the video game industry to make sure that people are getting rightfully represented in the work that they produce. So because
Druckerman hasn't said anything about it. Like he hasn't given any credit at all.
It's Neil.
Interesting.
No. Yeah, Neil Druckmann has not given him any credit on the show for co-creating the game, and not even like there's nothing like in none of the credits. He's not in there. Even though he doesn't work at Naughty Dog anymore, he still was a big part of creating, The Last of Us, one of the biggest games of all time. And I feel like that's kind of a shitty thing to do. I mean, no matter how long, you still need to get credit for what you did. And
unless he sold the rights to Neil or something like that. Like that's the only thing that I could see being an acceptable reason why Neil wouldn't be giving any credit. But did he do that, or because now that he's not at Naughty Dog anymore, did he give away his rights to the intellectual property of The Last of Us?
No, but that's not how. Like he still should get credit for doing that, like creating the Last of Us like game, because it says here he was let's see. Something created. He was the game director of The Last of Us, and he co-created and co-developed it. So I mean, he was a big part of the original game.
Yeah, no, I know that he was. I'm just trying to think of like any reason why Neil Druckmann would be able to get away with not giving
the reason.
Well, yeah, and
do you really want the reason?
You really want the reason because we know the reason.
I know the reason. I'm just trying to think of how he could legally explain it away.
Yeah, so key employees, it doesn't like I don't think it's a rights thing, like because like key employees that were there for the creation of the game but left Naughty Dog are still in the credits for the show. But Straley is not in the credits. And due to the burnout and desire to move on to new projects, he left Naughty Dog in 2017. But this should not be a reason for him not to be credited in a high-profile prestige adaptation of a game. He had a large part in developing. So yeah, I just thought like that was kind of fucked up. I was like,
it is for sure. They're
right.
Yeah.
They absolutely should have credited him.
Yeah,
that's messed up.
I feel like especially for how prestigious the show, the first episode of the show was when it came out.
What is Brendan?
Sorry, go ahead.
What is he doing about it? Is he suing Neil, or is he just doing like a awareness campaign, or like what is he doing about it?
It looks like he just wanted to tell speak his mind and tell him, hey, this is not right, and
So it's
I mean, there's nothing he can really do about it. It seems like,
it's good that he did though.
Yeah, no,
I'm sure a lot of
so.
people are gonna see it and will support him.
Yeah, voice your thoughts, man.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he can really do anything about it. So he just wanted to be like, hey, this is kind of fucked up. I did this, and I'm not getting any credit for it. You know?
Oh, that sucks. Hopefully there's a good result. I have a hard time believing that there's going to be, just because I know Neil.
Yeah, I doubt it.
So I have a hard time believing that, but I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be enough outward pressure to do something about it, because he does deserve that recognition. I mean, he really does. So, all right, boys.
I have before we finish, I just wanted to put this out there about the episode that I picked up on. I'm just curious if you guys cared or not, or noticed it. There's a lot of like little tiny details that I wasn't a fan of in this episode.
Okay.
And it, revolves around the three main characters, of course. First being Ellie. There's two very specific lines that she gave that I was like, did not like. And it was nothing like, it wasn't the words. It was just simply the way she said them. And it was like initially when they first get to the
hotel
water part.
Yeah, the hotel.
Trying to cross it. And it's literally just the way that she says, this is so gross, but she looks like the happiest kid I've ever seen on earth while delivering that line. And it's strange to me to be combining those two things. And then it's when the skeleton, we'll say, like falls down. It seemed like you could see her standing there and see it sitting on her. And then it's like, oh no, but you see the whole thing. So it's like, why are you surprised? Like, we can see that. Like, I don't know if that was a bad shot that they had and they had the wrong angle. Yeah. But it made it look worse that way, and I thought it was funny. And then I was not a fan of the entire fighting going on in the episode, because it made Joel and Tess look like idiots and didn't have like any or very little knowledge of what the clickers were capable of or doing.
Yeah, even though they were talking about how they like they were making it seem like they knew like what the fuck was going on.
They're like, shh, don't make any noise. It's like, cool, you're setting that up. But then they just completely disregard that, and they don't use that to their advantage.
Right.
Because even though it is a weakness, it is also a strength, because they can't see you.
Right.
So you know that they can only hear, but they never use that
to their advantage.
Which they should.
Like how they do in the game.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. There is some subtle things that change the perspective of people, because something that I picked up on that I didn't really care for that was that it seemed like Joel and Tess were like inexperienced.
Right.
Like it seemed like they were.
Make sense.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were like they were just figuring stuff out as they went, and I was like,
it was like the first time they've experienced a clicker in their life. Even though when they're talking, they sound like they're knowledgeable, but they don't actually do it.
Yeah, as soon as they get to the clickers and the clickers get too close, even though they're not like, they don't know that they're there. You know what I mean? They just immediately freak out. They're just like, ah! And they just like,
yeah, it makes sense. Like if Connor was there, I expect that,
right? yeah, exactly.
Connor be like, die in the first 5 minutes.
That's something I expect Joel and Tess to do, because they've done this and they do this all the time.
Yeah.
No, based on my gameplay. My gameplay, they already know they're there, so I was going guns blazing to shoot them in the head. It's like, it's so easy. Like, just
well, that's another thing too. Like, bro, did I not say that they were just gonna fucking mag dump? What did they do? They mag dumped.
Yeah, they mag dumped. Yeah, they did.
And then Tess does the same thing with her pistol. I fucking told you.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not even looking where she's shooting either. She's like running away. She's running away, and she's just going. Like shooting behind.
What I hate, right? It's like, if you were going to do this in the end, why even give him the M4?
Yeah.
You know damn well it's to look cool, but you don't need that. Just give him a fucking hunting rifle if you're going to do that. Then it makes sense that he shoots, misses, because there's, a certain level of understanding where he can miss shit because you're freaking out. But then it's a bolt action, so he can't reload right away. and then it makes the whole scene better versus, oh my god, like I'm spraying everywhere. Like, come on, dude. And it's like right in front of you too.
Yeah.
I do agree on that. Well, and we'll see what they do going forward with it. That because
dude, they're just not as. I thought, oh, maybe he's gonna use the bullet casings to throw it. Yeah, but no, he was just reloading so they could miss more shots.
Did he even shoot his gun before he reloaded that pistol? I don't remember. I didn't see. I don't remember him. Yeah, he shoot it. Okay, I don't remember him shooting his pistol.
Away, he's just like, and he's like behind the glass, and he turns and it's like right in his face.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Joel and Tess's combat prowess was not to the level that it should have been according to the game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, boys. I mean, we all have our fair share of issues with the show, but it seems like despite those things, it's still headed in the right trajectory, and we are still hopeful for the outcome of this season.
Yeah, still doing great.
Yeah, and I still enjoy it. Like I'm still enjoying the show, and I'm looking forward to the next episode tomorrow. And yeah, anything else you guys want to say about this episode?
I do think next episode they're gonna pit part of why Ellie got bitten from the preview I saw.
I did not watch the preview, so something that I will tell you guys is I am not watching the next episode.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, because I don't want any expectations going into the.
I don't mind the game.
Well, I know. I mean, there's the game, but like,
no, I'm talking about the
necessarily.
No, I know, man. I know what you meant, but I just for me it doesn't matter. I know it's.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining us, man. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you guys for joining us for this second episode. We appreciate you guys. Please like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. Check out our social media links down in the description below. Thank you to Zachy and Connor for joining us on this episode. They'll be back next week for episode 3. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Catch you guys in the next episode.
Adios.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.